can't shoot me. You're a cop.
Not anymore.
In most gangster movies, the boss of the big mafia boss is often just a side character, and even at best is rarely given any serious role. By comparison, the wife of the world's biggest and most famous drug lord, Emma Coronel Espero, is not only active in helping her husband get out of prison, but is one of the richest women alive. That's right, today we are talking about the wife of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the most notorious drug lord in history, who, among other things, was among the world's top 50 richest women, was an Instagram model with 700,000 followers, and was also on the FBI's most wanted list for a year before her recent arrest, all before she was 30 years old. So what is the story of this cartel queen? What did she live like? And most importantly, just how rich was she? If you want to know the answer to all of these questions, I hope you're ready, because this is the story of the queen of the Sinaloa cartel. Now, to start, we must first take a look at her early life, because it is actually a lot different from what you'd expect. Early life. You see, while Emma's family and parents are from Mexico, like El Chapo and his notorious cartel, she herself was not born there, but is instead an American national, being born to Blanca Estela Espero and Inés Coronel Barreras in San Francisco, of all places. Her parents were actually acquaintances of Guzman, her future husband, and had been living in the States on appointment by El Chapo. And while she did spend a lot of her childhood in the town of La Angostura, she was through and through American. In fact, before she even met her to-be husband, Emma had actually been nominated and won her local school's beauty pageant. And on her 18th birthday, she first met her future husband, the drug boss who had helped her family along. And while they had an age gap of 30 years between them, the two got married in no time. And ever since then, the two were basically inseparable. In fact, she was probably the most active of the 4 wives that El Chapo had throughout his life, and was by his side while he was being hunted by the FBI. Now, after mentioning him so much, it is time we talked about the elephant in the room, the man, the myth, the legend, El Chapo. Now, whether it is because of his association with it or just the way it sounds, nowadays the name El Chapo is associated with major crime syndicates, which is actually quite funny because the name actually means shorty and was given to young El Chapo due to his relatively small 5'6" stature. But where definitely does not lack in stature is in the world of crime and money. As the man who was responsible for bringing more drugs into the US than any trafficker in history, the man labeled by Forbes as one of the most powerful people alive, even while he was being actively hunted by Mexican police, and the man who was declared public enemy #1 by Chicago for the first time since Al Capone. There are few who match the power and money that El Chapo held during his prime, and few to match his penchant for killing his enemies either. According to some estimates, his cartel was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people during his time. And as his wife, well, ECA was basically the most important woman in the world of crime. In fact, even when El Chapo was incarcerated in Guatemala and then Mexico, she continued to be his wife and supported him by making public experiences until his eventual escape from both facilities, making sure that his power was never undermined until he came back. It was only when he was captured for the 3rd time and extradited to the US that the drug lord was put away for good, and Emma had to face life on her own, which was actually not as bad as one would think. Who knew that being the wife of the world's richest and most feared drug lord helped you in life? And that finally brings us to the fun part of the video, her life and times before her arrest, starting with the fact that she likes Instagram a lot. Seeing as she is still a former beauty queen who has all the money and servants in the world while also being in her late 20s, it is no wonder that the most powerful woman in crime also likes to look good and travel. And seeing as she is also rich, whether it is going to the Rockies for some snowboarding or staying on a picturesque beach in the Gulf, the young lady knows how to enjoy herself. And what better way to combine her love for travel and her love for looking nice than an Instagram account? That's right, the wife of America's public enemy #1 has an Instagram account in her own name with her husband's name mentioned in the bio. And on the account, she posts everything from her selfies in fancy makeup and costume to selfies of her skimpy bikinis at picture postcard beaches or pictures of herself with Prada bags and gym clothes. Come to think of it, she does seem to post stuff with one particular theme, herself being rich. In fact, I'm sure that if someone randomly came across her account, they would probably consider her to be just another rich socialite without even the slightest notion of the possibility of her being a crime boss's wife. And speaking of being a rich socialite, what about her houses and cars? Now, it is no shock that rich people like El Chapo like their mansions and cars, and to the surprise of absolutely no one, the Mexican lord also had a lot of them. 9 separate mansions and dozens of cars to be exact. And while as his wife, she spent a considerable amount of their early marriage there. All of that changed with El Chapo's arrest because as part of the arrest, all of his properties were seized by Mexican authorities who auctioned them off to return the people their money. But that doesn't mean that she has not enjoyed a nice life. When she was about to have her twin daughters, she was told by El Chapo to go to California so that their children could be American citizens. And with Chapo's case taking place in America as well, she has actually spent most of her time since his arrest in the States, wearing designer clothes, being chauffeured in expensive cars, and looking as fancy as ever while attending her husband's court hearings. She has even continued to arrange fancy parties for her daughters, with a video being uploaded quite recently of a Barbie-themed lavish birthday celebration for her kids. From dozens of balloon arches to cardboard models and castles, if there was something as being literally raised as princesses, these two are getting that. Now, all of that wealth brings up the big question. Just how rich is she? Seeing as her husband brought in over $14 billion during his reign as kingpin, it is no surprise that his wife and confidant number 1 has a lot of money to her name. And especially after his arrest, even with the seizure of the family properties, there is expected to be a lot of money left for Coronel to control. In fact, while her husband was out and about, she was rumored to be worth somewhere around $5 billion, making her richer than a lot of big entrepreneurs. And as she no longer has any reason to stay in Mexico, and her kids having to stay in the States anyways, she is rumored to be bringing some of that money to the States for some quote-unquote secret projects. And to really show you just how much wealth she has and how excessively she likes to flaunt it, even the government agencies that watched her closely have been left dumbfounded. In fact, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who has since retired once said of her, quote, "The whole story with her is so surreal. She goes around and flaunts her wealth and lifestyle in front of everyone's face." And well, as sweet and as fun as all of that would have been, unfortunately for her, all of that had to come to an end. At least for now. You see, while for most of her marriage a lot of media treated her as an innocent bystander or harmless bombshell, she was actually, as a DEA agent told the Washington Post, his biggest supporter. In fact, according to most reports, she was the one who helped arrange and manage the tunneling plan that led to El Chapo leaving the Mexican prison for the second time. As a result, even while she was just attending her husband's hearings, she was labeled a security threat. As one law enforcement source put it, quote, "She's too much of a security risk. Given that he has escaped so many times, no one wants to take any chances that he is giving his wife directions for a new escape attempt." And after Chapo was put away for good in an American supermax prison in 2019, the eyes of law enforcement quickly turned to his closest allies, and at the top of the list was the name of ECA. By the way, if you want to discover how to make a full-time income from YouTube without showing your face or without even recording any videos, check out our free YouTube training in the description. The training will be free only for a limited time, and there's only few spots left, so don't miss out. Recent arrest. In February of 2021, the wife of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was arrested at the Dulles International Airport outside of Washington for her involvement in the husband's illegal activities. And after being in and out of custody for a few months, finally, on June 10, 2021, she pled guilty to all federal charges against her. Now, at first this might sound like a bad decision, but here's the thing. By admitting to the minor charges against her, not only is she freeing herself of being convicted for deeper involvement, but her sentence now actually lasts for 3 years and will end in 2024. To tell you the proof of that plan, the 5-star attorney hired by Miss Coronel, Jeffrey Lichtman, told reporters after the hearing that his client was a, quote, very minimal participant in the huge scheme of crimes and is not a cooperator. And so even at the lowest, the wife of the 21st century biggest crime boss was able to avoid a potential life sentence, which just goes to prove just the kind of person she is. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.